Yo, what's up, my friends? Welcome to this video. If you want to make more money in your life, I mean extreme amounts of money, then the 25 cognitive biases are the go-to biases and bites of knowledge that you can leverage to make tons of money in this life. So, the 25 cognitive biases are basically shortcuts to people's decision making. It's very advanced, but very simple psychology to understand. It's the go to knowledge. I'm talking people like Charlie Munger, Benjamin Franklin, and Warren Buffett. Those three guys, by the way, they're on this poster here. I own this poster, by the way. It's freaking awesome. I recommend it for anyone. I'm not affiliated with this website, but they have really good like images here to show. So about 25 biases. So those three guys, I think it was Benjamin Franklin who first came up with it, and then Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett really talked about it the most and really pushed it into the mainstream in a way. Like if you were to look at the Google searches per month for 25 biases, it is a super low amount of people who are even aware of the 25 biases when these are basically superpowers you can leverage in this world. So I'm talking not just for money, but I'm talking for social. I'm talking for understanding yourself. I'm talking for avoiding bad things from happening to you. And I'm talking like making a lot of money. Okay. I attribute all my success, and I've made millions of dollars. I attribute all my success to the 25 biases. So let's dive into this video. So the first one, there's only two super response tendencies. The first one is reward slash punishment super response tendency. It's by far the most powerful. So it basically means that people respond very greatly to incentives. And you can pause the video on each one of these. I won't read them, but you can read them. And I'll just kind of talk about and give my 2 cents about all of these different biases. So, reward bias is the easiest way and the best go to way to persuade anyone to do anything. Okay. Number two, liking slash loving bias. People will basically ignore any faults about someone or ignore any problems with someone if they like that person. And for people to like someone, what makes someone really like someone is people consider them kind of like their friend, or people have been through a lot with the person, or people see themselves in that person. Um, People have spent a lot of time with that person. People have gotten value from that person. So there's a lot of ways to really make people like you. Maybe you're associated to likable things or things that the person likes. If other people are shown to like you, you're more likely to be liked by others. And so this one is extremely powerful. In fact, don't overlook this one, is all I want to say about this one. Disliking slash hating tendency. This one is very serious because if you have a lot of people who dislike you, well, here's the thing. If someone dislikes you, it's impossible to persuade them to buy something or to do anything or listen to you, etc. So let's say you have a family member who seriously dislikes you, they will not listen to anything you say. Okay, they'll ignore any good things about you, basically. Okay, doubt avoidance tendency. What this is if people are unsure about what to do, they're going to make a very ill-informed decision. So people want to avoid like being doubtful about their decision. So usually they make a fast decision. And the best way to use this bias is using urgency and scarcity in your marketing and sales. Okay. Now, number five is inconsistency avoidance tendency. So people here, I'll just read this. We have a reluctance to change. Eliminating bad habits is a rare trait. So people don't like change. People do like new things if it's like a really exciting new thing, but most times people are not likely to change. And this is why if a new business comes into fruition, it's very unlikely that that business can really grow unless it can get past the pitfall of all businesses they have to cross the chasm of. So what's that chasm? I would say it's social proof. I would say it's liking slash loving tendency, but people need to be it needs to be simple for people to change to the business. So that's super important. And the business needs to be better. So try to think how that would apply to whatever you're working on or marketing or selling. So curiosity tendency is insane. It's moved humans throughout history forever. Uh, Humans are naturally curious. We are naturally curious. And in your marketing and in your ads, you want to win the click. You want to get people and eyeballs and and clicks into your website or your business. And how you do that is oftentimes through curiosity, but you can also leverage it with reward bias. And reward bias is very, very powerful, as I've said, like crazy. But that's how you can get a lot of clicks. Just a few ways. There's more, but curiosity wins. Even like for selling something, if you have a product where people, if it's a low enough price and people are just curious what it is, like it could be a digital product or a book or anything like that, or it could be even a movie. People are curious about, watching the movie because you don't know the whole movie until you buy it. And so that's curiosity tendency right there. So think about how you can apply it. There's so many ways. It just comes down to what you're working on. So with each one of these biases, as I go throughout, I'm just trying to consider how you can apply it. Okay. So Kantian fairness. Thank goodness for Kantian fairness, because otherwise the world would be a very bad place. Okay, what Kantian fairness is, it's basically just people being fair with each other, kind, and caring for each other, basically. And it's unlikely and it's rare that people don't have Kantian fairness. So it's basically like why people let someone butt in line, or someone cross the street and the car stops so they can do that, or so someone can get in front of you and you're driving, stuff like that. So there's a lot of scenarios where Kantian fairness comes into play. People holding the door open for you, but people want to take care of each other, so that's the natural tendency there. um, Envy/jealousy tendency. Warren Buffett says this is the worst one of all. Oh, it says right here, it is not greed that drives the world but envy. Okay, so i I don't really like this one that much, but what it can be leveraged for marketing and sales is showing other people happy with the product or the service, and like people getting great results with it, like solving their problems, whatever it may be, the product, and it makes people also want to get it. And it's not a horrible type of envy, but it's a smaller, for that example, smaller type of envy, and it's very, very effective for selling anything. Okay. um, if you look at Instagram, it triggers envy/jealousy tendency. Just a lot of that on social media for people. I've heard about stories of mental illness from happening from it, like, because jealousy is very bad. You could call it a sin. Okay, but anyway, a great product that someone doesn't have and see that person sees others have it, that's very, very effective for selling stuff. Okay, so reciprocation tendency. Basically, if you do something good for someone else, they're more likely to do something good for you. So there's a story of when this kid was selling to the neighborhood his lawn care service and mowing lawns, and he would basically give a flower to the wife if there was a wife in the household, and give a flower to the wife, just like a free flower that he got, and kind of just gave it to him after he did his work, and it triggered reciprocity in there, and in the mind of the customers and the clients, basically what that would do is it would make them not want to have him leave. Basically, they wouldn't want to switch their service person, whoever's mowing the lawn for them. Okay, so that's a very powerful bias. In fact, this one's one of the top ones for sure for persuasion. Next is influence from mere association bias. So we can easily get manipulated by mere association. What it means, when I think of it, this is how I apply this one, is because of mere association bias, this is why advertising works, and does and like advertising doesn't work sometimes for people, but just by getting your product out there in front of people and being seen, you have a higher chance of getting sales and growing a business from that, because it gets seen. And it's a very obvious bias, but it's very important to understand. So let's say you're trying to market yourself out there in the mating realm of your life. Okay, if you aren't just being seen, like mirror associated with the girls around you, for example, if you're a guy watching this, basically you're not going to be able to have those girls have an opinion about you or like you, okay, or move forward with you. That's important. Okay, so number 11 is simple pain avoiding psychological denial. So this one's, I don't know how to necessarily use this one to sell fully, but I guess I could probably think of something on the fly. But let's see. We have a habit of distorting the facts until they become bearable for our own views. So let's say someone dies, and it's very horrible when that happens. Someone dies in your family. um, and you distort the facts until it becomes bearable for your own views. And it's a very sad one, um, but it's very real in life, and everyone goes through it. Okay, the pain avoiding psychological denial. Now, you could use story selling, is what I think of initially right off the bat when hearing this one, which is you can basically tell a story of a customer or you who has been through a huge conflict, and essentially you're telling a story how you distorted the facts and they became bearable for your own views. You found a solution through the pain and a solution to the conflict you're having. Okay, and it became bearable for your own views. Your problem solved, and people can feel that and they're going to buy. Okay, so excessive self-regard tendency. Most people see themselves as you know, overconfidence, above average, better than most people type thing, or center of the world, because you have 100% of your DNA. Obviously, you're going to have excessive self regard tendency. And so there's nothing wrong with it at all. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with any of these biases. The point is how you can leverage them, okay, ethically. And so in your marketing, in your sales, make sure to put the customer first because they care about themselves and you should care about them too because that's what matters, especially in a business. So, put them first, keep them the center of attention. That's how you'll do very, very well. Like, for sure. That's a very important bias. Most people overlook that one. I've talked to a lot of people about biases. Okay, so 13, over optimism tendency. People are naturally over optimistic, and this is pretty much mostly all people. Some people are not naturally over optimistic. That comes from, um, having bad experiences over time when you're optimistic about something that fails, and that's where pessimists can be formed, a pessimist mindset. But there's nothing wrong with it, and being over optimistic is very powerful. It's a very powerful trait because it means you take more chances, more risks in life, and most people who are super over optimistic becomes very, very successful. Deprival superreaction tendency. So a man ordinarily reacts with irrational tendency to even a small loss or threatened loss of property, love, friendship, dominated territory, opportunity, status, or any other valued thing by that person. So this is the other super response right here. So basically, I call it loss aversion bias, but this site calls it deprival superreaction tendency. And once again, what it means, I mean, it's so crazy because someone would rather avoid losing something than gaining something. So if you offered someone $100 or offered them a chance to 100% avoid losing $100, they would like to avoid losing the $100 type thing. Okay. So social proof tendency, very similar to the liking bias one, but they're somewhat different. Social proof is an automatic tendency, and I think this one's one of the most powerful by far. So it's an automatic tendency to think and act as others around you think and act. And this is the number one way to sell anything to anyone, by the way. So it's pretty much at the highest point of being able to do that. So if a bunch of customers have purchased something and love it, and you showcase that, you're more likely to get more sales of the thing, and it propagates and grows and grows and grows into more sales for your business. I'm talking physical products, digital products, any type of product. Social proof is powerful. Okay, next is contrast misreaction tendency. So let's say this is a good one for like pricing. This is how I see it, is for pricing, but look at this. So it's just knowing how to use perception. Look how this bear is standing out amongst all the red bears. So it's like knowing how to contrast and make your product stand out compared to everything else. So for example, in a business, if everyone's doing things the same way, you want to do it better and different and stand out. That's what that means to me. And pricing things effectively. So the next one is 17, which is stress influence tendency, which is basically, I look at this one as you create a lot of stress in someone, but good stress, not horrible stress, but you trigger urgency and scarcity in people so they can make a decision quicker. Otherwise, they'll just not make a decision at all. And so this has been very effective in my marketing and my success is leveraging urgency and scarcity. It's not the number one thing. All these add up, and I'll talk about the 25th bias at the end, which is very important bias. Okay. So availability misweighing tendency. We overweigh what's easily available to us. So if it's super available to us, we're more likely to make a decision on that than other things. So let's say you're making content for your business or you're running ads for your business. If you're seen by a customer more often than your competitors are seen for the customer, they're more likely to choose you, is basically how I see this one. Okay. So just be available. Also, make sure your product or service is easy to purchase and not difficult to purchase. That's very important. Sometimes you'll see a new website and they don't have a buy button, It's funny. Okay, use it or lose it tendency. Too many learn a skill to simply just cram it for a test or a presentation instead of trying to actually understand it fluently. Skills enunce with disuse, innuate, attenuate, with disuse. So, use it or lose it tendency. If you don't do something, like let's say if you like basketball and you don't freaking go play basketball, you're gonna lose that ability. Or you don't play a video game in a while and you're really good at it before, you'll lose the ability to play it, type thing. Okay. Or if your customers haven't seen you in a while, they're less likely to buy again if they haven't seen you in a while. Okay. So drug misinfluencing tendency. This one is crazy. So let's say you have a product you sell. Maybe it's music. Music's kind of like a product, right? Let's say it's coffee, just legal drugs, you could call it. That's drug misinfluence tendency. It takes over people's lives, you could call it. People basically, they just deny it. It's just psychological denial. They try to think of excuses for the drug they're doing, and this is natural for everyone. There's nothing fully wrong with the bias, because it's natural in everyone just to make excuses for the thing causing pain. Like it strongly costs lives, especially the bad drugs. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, you can, if you sell a product that releases dopamine in people, that can be a really good product. I know investors that I've talked to who basically look for investments of products that they know release dopamine in people's brains, like ethical though, not like bad drugs, okay? But like good stuff, like Apple, the products, they actually release dopamine in people's brains, especially when they purchase them and use them. Okay, so there you go. That's an example right there. So senescence misinfluence bias, this is basically the degradation of the brain over time. It becomes slower, sadly. That's natural for all of us, and we lose our abilities, our skills. And how I use this one, if I use this one, is if I'm selling a product where the main buyers are, older individuals, um, I know that convincing someone and persuading someone becomes slightly easier if I use these biases. Okay. And older people and individuals do have more money. And so it's a very good market to sell to. They have more money. They're easier to persuade and convince to a product, but do not abuse this one. Okay. Like seriously, that's messed up if you do. Okay. Now, authority misinfluence tendency. This one is very, very powerful and cannot be overlooked. Basically, people follow orders just because someone says so, if it's an authority. So, like a doctor, a police officer, a lawyer, um, someone who's super successful, in their business and what they do. These are very, very powerful. This is a very powerful bias to understand. It's authority bias. People listen to people who are authorities on what they're leaders of, okay, and experts of. So twaddle tendency is a funny one. Basically, people just spend too much time on nonsense, is what it means. So scrolling through TikTok, scrolling through Instagram, it's because us as people, we naturally get bored, play video games, waste time, when deep down we know we will feel better if we go to the gym, if we work out, if we eat healthy, if we go have fun, if we go socialize, if we go travel, and if we go make more money. These are things we don't regret, but we do regret when we waste time, but we can't help it. It's a weird cognitive bias in people's brains and our brains where we just twaddle. Okay. This one's freaking awesome. I love this one. So when asking for something, using the word because after you ask for it. So let's say you want a button line to, save time to check out at the fast food restaurant or something. So you're waiting in line and you say to people, hey, can I butt in line just because I'm in a super big rush? And here's the thing. It doesn't matter what you say after the word because, because the word because, it increases agreeableness by a huge percentage. Huge. probably over 90% percentage. It's insane. And so whenever asking for anything, I guarantee to you right now, um, you will increase the agreeableness of whoever you're asking to do something, as long as it's not a huge ask, but even then it can increase the ask. But even it's best with small favors, like by far. You'll get 100% agreeableness with even small favors. So this one is the easiest one for everyone who watches this video to apply, and it's very powerful. Don't overlook it, don't forget it, and just use it naturally in your language patterns, okay? Now, the last one's Lollapalooza bias. And basically, it's a combination of as many biases as you can for the sole purpose of persuading someone to do something, like buy a product or follow, or, you could say subscribe, type stuff, whatever action you're trying to go for, or collect leads. But yeah, the tendency to get extreme confluences of psychological tendencies acting in favor of a particular outcome. Very powerful, guys. So I want to ask you, and comment down below, what is your top 3 favorite biases? I'll tell you mine right real quick. My first favorite is reward bias, because every year Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, either one said this. I forgot which one says this, but I think it was Charlie Munger. He says, every year I'm surprised by how powerful this bias is, reward bias. People will go to great lengths. People will work jobs they don't like for money. People will do things that are crazy for money. This really involves money, this one right here, big time. But anything, just involves anything. Now, the next powerful one, I would say social proof. So social proof is number 2. Where is that one? Anyway, social proof. And then number 3 is, this one is a super response, but I'm going to skip this one and go to one of my favorites, which is, I was going to say distrust misinfluence bias, but I'll say authority bias. So my top ones is reward bias, social proof bias, and authority misinfluence tendency. Those are the top ones. When you combine those, just those 3, that's very powerful. But the more you combine, and the more you memorize, and the more you apply to what you're doing, it becomes an insanely automatic response in people to buy your product, buy your service, or do whatever you want. But don't abuse it, okay? I'm giving you guys gold here. And you could watch any video today when you watch this right now. You're watching this right now. And this video right here has the actual power to change your life, okay? Especially if you didn't know what the cognitive biases are, or if you're a beginner and I'm more intermediate. Like, it's time to become advanced in the cognitive biases, okay? So in this video, rewatch it, share it with your friends if you want to. They will definitely be triggered reciprocity if you share it with your friends, and they will love you forever and create liking/loving tendency from you. But anyway, thank you for watching, and peace out, learning machines. Peace.